you still have to showcase that you do what you do well, and that you have some kind of unique style, unique, and like that is for any art form.
Hey guys, we are live on another episode on the Owwll podcast. To my left is Brett Miller. We're going to learn all about the music business today. And of course, Danielle Santilli is my co-host, and she is in the music world as well. So I'm probably not going to talk that much today. Sorry. I know if you came here to listen to me, it's going to be more of them two chatting.
We'll keep you involved.
You know, we saw them in our hallway over here chatting about all these opportunities in South Florida, Nashville, of course, and other areas of the country. And
we can even make it, we can add a little craziness to it. You know, I know that he brought his guitar with him.
Well,
just in case. So if you guys, I don't know how the sound will go on these mics, but if you want to even request a song or even just have him sing for you, if you're like, I need a pick me up today, I need to get through the day.
I need a pick me up today. Let's
honestly,
do it.
Right? I didn't think about,
Starbucks is fading.
Yeah. So that's an option too, guys. I don't think we've ever done this before. Had some live. Have we had live music on the podcast?
I was going to ask that.
We had one
before I worked
star.
here.
You weren't the host. You weren't the host.
Haven't you at this point?
You didn't. Actually, no. I don't think so. Have I? I don't know. Probably not. I was like, no.
You sung.
Oh, maybe I did.
You were a guest, and I made you sing
for like 2 seconds. It was like one line.
It's like, anyway. Don't be bashful. You have to sing with me at that point.
Yeah. We'll get our duets going.
There it is.
So Brett. So as you guys know, I was in Nashville all of last month. And luckily, I met Brett there at a songwriters round, and he just happened to live in Fort Lauderdale. So it was super cool for me to meet a totally legit, amazing musician in Nashville who also lives in Florida. So, I mean, obviously, the music journey and your music journey, it's not like a straight, easy path, guys. It's ups and downs all over the place, circles all around. So I guess just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got started and kind of go from there.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said it right there with like, there's so many, peaks and valleys, if you will, of the whole thing. You wish it was something that you can see from start to finish and you just execute perfectly, but that's just not how it goes, especially when life happens and you get, we all know what experience we all experienced a few years ago that really shook up, and it's been about pivoting and restructuring, re-strategizing how you're going to do things. But my beginning is actually from South Florida. I'm from like Palm Beach area. I'm from Martin County, just north of that. Shout out to people from like Stewart and Jensen Beach, Palm City, that area. And very small little beach town, Hope Sound specifically, and growing up in high school and taking lessons on piano and incorporating singing and playing at the same time, right between like 11 to like 14, until I was with the teacher that said, noticed that I was learning songs on my own, just printing out chord charts and learning songs I wish I knew how to play and all that, and just building this repertoire of songs. And then my father getting me my first paid gig, and that kind of set me off underwaying, know that I can do music and get paid for it, for one thing, and then kind of also work on songwriting and working on how to start the artist career off the way I'd like to. And that came later on after college. And then I moved to New York in 2014 and really got the artist career underway after grad school and just meeting the right people. And a lot of magic took place, which is sort of also on that vibe of you can't plan for things. You just kind of have to show up, be present, network, meet people, and then just kind of follow what comes your way with it. And, I'm blessed for still doing it and being acknowledged to, with the know-how that I've gained from the industry and being in it like that. And, I'm in it to win it. And I love being able to find people like yourselves. When I saw you in Nashville, we connected through a mutual friend who's also local. And that's kind of what it's always been about, at least for me right now, because after the pandemic, I moved back to Florida. Surprisingly, I didn't plan for that.
I did that as well. I was in an LA Music City, and then I'm like, hey,
totally,
I'm going to go back home for a little bit and regroup because what else do you do?
Yeah, I I kind of, when I was in New York, I said I wasn't going to come back to Florida.
Yeah.
I love Florida, but I just felt like it wasn't going to be the next big
You
thing.
were kind of giving up the dream a little bit, because that's what I was like. I kept my apartment in LA, and I was like, I will not move back home with the parents. Like, I kept it. I was visiting for 6 months.
Totally.
And yeah.
I keeping the dream alive.
Yeah.
Definitely keep the dream alive, but knowing you have to take a step back to take 2 steps forward.
Yeah.
And I'm still like feeling slightly displaced, even though it's familiar, but Fort Lauderdale is new for me.
Yeah.
Broward and Dade, and what's the exposure to Miami, and what are the offerings there that I'm not familiar with, but it's been pretty fruitful so far. It's just, and I'll divulge into this more, but like I feel like there's 2 facets of music for me, where there's the entertainment side, where I can really build a sort of a lucrative career out of it. And then there's also the artist project that takes a lot of investment and takes a lot of time and networking. But I've always been kind of doing both simultaneously. And in South Florida, the entertainment scene is very strong, very, very strong. And, it's been great and really fun to be in new venues and taking on new clientele, both public and private. It's been really fun, but I still see it as a way to build a fan base in this local area, probably even easier than New York.
Yeah, or Nashville, any of the saturated places. I have the same, I feel like, I wanted to have you on this podcast because I could tell right away meeting you that you are business minded and you are an entrepreneur. I mean, it sounds like from 14 years old, you've been like in this game in terms of like, you can be a musician. So many people are musicians like for fun, or like they want to be artists, but being an earner as a musician is a totally different lifestyle. So, and that's kind of what we're about on Owwll and this podcast is networking and entrepreneurship and making those connections to bring you to the next level. So, I totally get where you're coming from with like trying to balance the passion side of it and the money making gig circuit side of it. And yeah, just trying to find the right connections along the way. So
I think you said the buzzword too. It's entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
It's like it really boils down to that. Just like any art form or any kind of salesmanship where you have a product, it's just that I'm the product. You're the product. You're offering yourself for the business of it. And it's the same practices of marketing and promotion and working with clients and knowing how to, this is recent for me, but knowing how to use leverage, if there's a demand for me or any musician, but particularly me, because they've seen what I can do very specifically and there's demand for that. Well, then, okay, I play a different game than I was playing when I was a novice and still figuring things out. It's a different game. And I think maturity and just being in like more of a business mind has been fruitful so far. Yeah.
So for anyone out there who, like, I was just messaging with a friend who's like newer in the music industry, and I told him to get on Owwll because like I've talked to Grammy winners and stuff on there, and he's kind of trying to monetize like through YouTube videos, but like in terms of booking gigs, do you have any advice for someone out there? Just do you book your own gigs? Do you go through agencies? Like, what does your gig booking process look like?
The answer is all the above.
Okay.
The agency thing started when I was in New York, when I took on and we talked about this, through the grapevine and it was so funny. When I was in New York, I was bartending because I had some past history when I was in college. And by bartending, I ended up meeting a performer that worked at the place Mastro's that we were talking about, a really nice steakhouse that I never heard of prior to that. And this performer, once we got talking, he invited me to come and sit in on a little bit. And that just led to kind of now being listed as a regular performer on that. And then you just kind of build on that. You can talk that, hey, I got this gig over here, and it's a little bit easier to get the next gig. So it's sort of like keep humble in the beginning with go find something that you can call regular, that you can invite people to. And it kind of just gives you a little bit of that social proof legitimacy where you can build on that. And then that game of leverage comes a little bit later, but you can certainly, expose yourself well with taking on gigs. And I'm thinking about South Florida a little bit more than New York and
Mhm.
Nashville, where there's plenty of places like on the beaches or at a bar, and I know that seems like, oh, I don't want to, but you gotta
Oh, I was
build
busking even
off of
here.
it. Even busking,
I was busking
exactly,
when I first came here too. Like you have
totally.
to start somewhere. You can't like I remember one of my like exes was actually just like, I can't believe you're just like putting yourself out there and just like doing this on the street. And I was like, well, I'm new to Florida. I don't know anyone here. And I actually
No,
booked some gigs that
good for
way. Like
you.
I'm like, who cares? I have no shame.
Of course not.
But yeah, I mean, tons of musicians I knew that were like professionals playing at high end clubs in New York were like literally busking on the street during COVID. And I was like, well, I'm on unemployment, so I don't want to get hired. So I need like cash. It was just a whole thing.
That's true. Yeah, that's actually smart, and those are some of the things you do along the way that
Yeah.
actually kind of helps you later on. It's you can look at it like humbling yourself in order to accomplish a goal, but that's just smart in my opinion. If you're going to collect unemployment during the
Yeah.
pandemic and all that, don't then stay away from it, but you can get cold hard cash and
Yeah. I mean, we try. But I'm curious. I don't want to steal all the questions from the listeners, but so we talked about like the gig side, but in terms of the artist side, like I know we like to have people with big followings on our podcast, and you have quite a big social media following. With your artist stuff and
Mhm.
quite a lot of Spotify plays. So how did you build that following?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Was it
honestly,
marketing?
of
Was
course
it
it was
like
marketing.
paid marketing? Social media? Was it organic
It
fans?
was
Like what was?
everything. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
everything. Spotify's really awesome, and I can't speak on all the other ones, but Spotify's really good because it has so much music discovery capabilities.
Mhm.
Like people are finding new artists every single day, and there's a lot of algorithmic playlists that introduce so
Mhm.
much new music. So my marketing and kind of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks and seeing what's legitimate, what's not. I've been
Mhm.
messed over many
Me too.
times.
Me too.
That's the name of the game. But sometimes through your efforts, you catch wind. And with Spotify, some of my songs grabbed onto the automated playlist of Discover Weekly and New
That's
Music
great.
Fridays and Release Radar
That's huge.
and that
Yeah.
kind of snowballs things. And it's kept things pretty alive, but nothing is foolproof. Nothing is 100%. There's a lot of try. There's actually more failures than there are successes with it, but that's kind of what success is really anyway, right? You keep trying, and then all of a sudden something sticks, and then that translated to Instagram. But it's still a work in progress. I feel like I always have to kind of recreate and restructure how I put out my content and what performances and song choices and and then that's something actually I'd like to get some help with or find expertise in within Owwll is like how could Owwll help me in my conquest. It's like social media strategizing and the brand, building the brand even
Yeah.
more so on top of what I've done so far. So
Yeah.
we're all like in a game where we're still asking questions.
And the industry is like changing so fast,
It's
like with
like,
AI. Like I mean, every industry at this
yeah,
point, but like especially us. I feel like
yeah,
every day it's something new that's coming out. And yeah, I already have a list of like people in my mind that I'm like, you need to call this person and this
of
person
course,
who I still am like, need to call them. Like they're on my list that I think for us, like one of the most powerful things you can do is building your text list, email subscription
totally.
list. And like to get an actual real following that's not like fake followers is
Hmm.
so
Wait, there's
important.
fake followers on the list. How about it now? I've been quiet listening. Is
Yeah.
that real?
Oh,
Yeah.
People buy
wish
followers
it
now?
wasn't.
If you ask, what do they say? It's like the thousand. If you have 1,000 fans and they
True
each pay
fans
$100 a
or
year,
something like
1,000, something
that.
like I'm bad at math, guys.
Depends who they is that you're talking about.
Like yeah, just people on your if you say, hey, like, would you fund my album? Like
Yeah,
if every single one of these people pays $100, which isn't that much to ask, and you have is it what I think it's 1,000, right?
that's yeah,
Super fans, and they
100,000.
and then it'll get you 100K, right? Or
I
something
mean,
like that.
something like that.
I don't know, but like no, it is possible. Like
Yeah,
I've seen people do this, and so I'm like, okay, I think that's the way to do it is like getting that if you can get that those like super fans in your
yeah.
corner. But
And Spotify's helping us do that. They've recently kind of um, divided I guess, yeah, they've divided your audience and then into different categories recently. And then you have something that they call super listeners, which is such a new thing. And how do you use that information to but you can and target, and it's just the nonstop game, and it's equally as frustrating as it is invigorating, and I do think that I could assist people along the way, especially in the beginning of it all, because I know how kind of intimidating it kind of is in the beginning, and it gets even more intimidating later on. But yeah, there's just so much to learn. Like you were saying, everything keeps evolving and changing since AI and the pandemic really shook everything up, and you don't have to be in the big cities anymore to keep this going. So yeah, and then you throw in the word TikTok, and it all just.
I thought you just pose and everyone comes.
I
all the business pours in. Right?
Yeah, just sing pretty and they just show up. No, not quite.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to dive a little deeper into the entrepreneurship side for a second,
please.
because most musicians are not putting entrepreneur on their profile, and you have on Owwll. And I see you went to NYU. I see you went to Rollins College. Of course, you learned a lot of business skills through those universities. They're top tier, top 50. And you went to New York. You learned a lot, like the typical grind. I'm a New Yorker at heart. I got down here 6 years ago, and you're touching a lot of subjects when it comes to communicating and just putting yourself out there and meeting people. And you said a second ago, like TikTok, and then you dive into that platform. Then it's Instagram. Everyone's chasing followers and likes, but you seem to be doing it old school as well, just pure old, connecting with people and making stuff happen. Right? It started with you being a bartender, right? And then you met somebody, and then maybe it was 5-10 years later, then you built an opportunity from that relationship. So can we dive into like that side of things, the entrepreneurship side? Because so many musicians say, well, I'm not really an entrepreneur. I'm like, no, that's bullshit. You are an entrepreneur, because you got to put yourself out there and make the opportunities happen. And me and Danielle speak about this all the time. I know a friend of hers, and I'm like, yeah, the friend never reaches out. Like, I personally have emailed one of her friends, and pretty much they don't respond. And I'm like, I'm sitting there like, here's an opportunity on a platter, but they don't have the business sense.
Yeah.
It's just not there. It's not written that they should check emails every day, text people back right away. This isn't a dating situation. This is like text somebody when an opportunity comes, or they're never going to want to work with you. Like, I run a business. 100%. I want to work with people like you, right? Because people like you can respond quickly, communicate easily.
Even the way you responded to our emails, like, I'm the same way. I think it's because we're not privileged in a position where like we just like have that 9 to 5 and the leads are just coming to us. Like, so if you're not that way, like, you're just not going to be as successful. Like, the fact that you were like, here's my bio and my picture. I'm like, do you know how many people I'm chasing down?
Yeah. Like, the side of entrepreneurship. Yeah. Like, when somebody sends me an email, hey, you're going to be on my show tomorrow, I need a headshot in this. I get it back to them quickly because I know they need it to put posts together.
Yeah.
And that's promotion for me.
Yeah.
It's like, it hurts me if I were to delay that, right?
And etiquette, just the words thank you after someone's been on a show. So I see that as the missing issue with so many musicians. So I want to jump into like how important that is. And and that's probably the reason why you have over 10 million Spotify views. It's not always just the music. Yes, there's that talent at the tippy top, like Eminem, who could rap certain things that like no one possibly could do at times, right?
Yeah.
But there's that whole other side where someone could be completely worse than Eminem, but really good at business and get bigger opportunities. So just dive in. How are you doing all those different things behind the scenes, so our audience really understands the entrepreneurship side of being a musician?
Well, you call it entrepreneurship, but it's really networking, right? It's a people's game. Everything is a people's game. And I know that it feels like it's a dying art, but that's so not true, especially when it comes to like more serious opportunities. Like, if you were to ask for funding, you don't want to do that over text message. You want to be able to look people in the eye and shake hands and convince them that we're all this is a fruitful venture for all, and all kinds of stuff. And I get it from my father. I get it from my mother too, but my father is not in music at all. And he's in the metals business. And, I remember as a kid, he never really dumbed down the language for me. It was always like, speaking high words that I'm like, what did he say? But I sort of got it. And then, the whole emailing idea where you show the etiquette, you ask, you give what's requested, but you also, just don't waste anyone's time, because I wouldn't want anyone wasting my time as well. And it really is entrepreneurship. It always boils down to that denominator, no matter what you're selling or what you're offering.
But you bring up so many good points. It's like so often people are like, "Oh no, businesses change." Like you could be like doing slang on an email. I'm like, no, keep it professional. Don't do it like a text
We
message.
still do our
Don't use
handwritten notes
acronyms. I'm like,
here.
use
'cause
handwritten notes.
people appreciate that. Yeah.
And it is a lost art because many people get sucked into the new society, say, no, that's how it is, and that's how people are doing things now. I'm like, that's how your group of people are doing it.
You need content.
And when you look at the people at the top, they're not doing it like that. They're keeping it old school. They're sending gifts to people. They're doing thank you cards.
It's also like
they're taking people's time into account. Like they don't miss meetings, right? You know how many people have like 10 meetings a week and blow through 5, right? They no show them, say they're running late, or just don't communicate with the other individual.
Right.
It's
And
so
there's always an
important to be
excuse,
like,
and those excuses catch back up to people.
Yeah.
it's also just like so important in the music industry to be a good hang because you're like in the studio for hours with people. If you want to collaborate, writing a song, like if you're not good energy and you're a diva, like people are, it doesn't matter how talented you are, people are not going to want to work with you.
Got to keep your ego in check too.
Yeah.
Especially with songwriting, it's a delicate process.
Yeah, definitely.
Hello, Tanya. Give us 1 second. We're gonna bring you up on the big screen, okay? So you could ask our guest of the day any question that is on your mind.
I do have a question. So my son is interested. He's very creative. He's interested in maybe beginning to produce music so that he can perform that. This is not my forte. This is completely out of my league. So, but I want to support him, right? So what better way than to find an expert on Owwll to learn about music? So what would you suggest to him? Is there a type of program that I can buy for him that I can get him started with that's pretty user friendly for him to start laying tracks down and loops and things like that?
Well, hi, Tanya. Thank you for calling in. So, I mean, I don't know if you have Apple products, but any of the Apple products come with this app called GarageBand. And it's a precursor to some of the more legitimate digital workspaces, as we call them. But that's where he can kind of generate his ideas inside of that. Even connecting instruments through just a USB cable. It can be very simplified, even a microphone, very simple, but it allows him to, and same thing for us at a bigger scale. It's just the world is your oyster inside of a workspace that you can kind of maneuver within. So again, that one's called GarageBand, and it comes with all of the Apple products by default. But the advanced, the more advanced version of that is called Logic. And Logic is what I use on a professional basis, but a lot of people like to use other ones. But at that point, it's just your choice, whatever you'd like to use. I mean, as long as you feel proficient and you feel like you can get your ideas down, then there's no wrong answer with that. So that's certainly the beginning of an answer to your question.
The other thing, I'll just pop in really quick. I don't know if they still do this, but I know that Apple used to actually offer like a class at the Apple store where they would like show people how to use GarageBand.
Ooh, I didn't even know that.
And that was like years ago. So I don't know if it's still a thing, but you should look into that. I remember going and I was like, I'm a musician. I want to buy this laptop that has a lot of space so I could maybe like do like live looping and performances. And they're like, oh, we'll show you how to do that. We have a free workshop. So like look into, there are like so many workshops, and as he's learning the technology to like just YouTube, like all the best producers that I know,
YouTube University. I mean, it goes without saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's when you start, how you really utilize it is when you're in the trenches of it and you have a very specific question that is keeping you stuck. And that's what you ask YouTube, and you find the video that explains exactly how to get out of the situation that you're in and get the desired result. I'm doing that today. I mean, I may not be at the GarageBand level, but even Logic, when you are kind of just pushing the envelope with what kind of sounds you're trying to get, sometimes it is a question of where do I find the capability to do that? And I just ask it to YouTube and continue as I am and learn something new. And it's a never ending process, even for some of the best producers out there. So,
or you get your son on Owwll. I don't know how old he is, and
He's not old enough yet.
because we
Well, you
do
could
have
calls.
producers
You
on
could call
Owwll.
with him. Come on.
Yeah, like
I could. We could do that.
yeah.
because there are like tons of if you go to the search button, for those of you that don't know, you can search and filter by industry,
Mm.
and you can look at the music industry, and we do have a lot of producers on Owwll who I'm sure would be glad to take the revenue and walk you through. Because I'm personally, I hate when people tell me to use YouTube, even though I just gave that advice. I actually hate that. I hate working that way. Whenever I feel like I look things up, it never gives me the right answer. And I always end up just calling a producer friend and be like, can you just save me time and like
Well, there's that.
show me how to do this? Because I don't want to like sit on YouTube for hours. I mean, if you're just learning, it's one thing. But if you already know what you're doing and then there's just like one thing that you're like, that's a complex, like, why is this glitch happening with this software? And like the direct answer isn't really in there.
Right.
I'm old school. I
But-
just like to talk.
But
to the
generally
person.
speaking,
Generally speaking, it's good.
It could be great because even I like most of my music that I put out was actually produced by some other people. I've always outsourced because my concentration was through performance and through songwriting. But as of recently, I've dived into taking on a more self-sufficient way of making music, which is beneficial because the power's in my hands. But it's still a tough process of like learning the technicalities of things and how the systems operate. But like for the most part, YouTube has saved me a lot of time waste or just trying to click around. But I do also have producer friends that could help me along the way, which is, that's some of the best way. But if you fall in love with producing in a way that maybe I didn't from the beginning, it's, you can do it, you don't mind continuing
Right.
to
I'm
utilize
like not tacky. So I'm like,
your patience and actually my patience too.
Yeah, he edits videos. He will spend hours editing
Yeah.
videos.
I just want
and
someone
so
else
he's
to press the
taking
button.
classes.
I know. Me too.
Yeah, see, that's me. Like I don't want to do the editing part, but
Yeah, me neither.
he really likes that. Now he's kind of drifting more into some performance part of it, which is exciting. And whatever he wants to do, I want to support him.
Of course, yeah.
But this is amazing to have you guys as a resource, to have Al as a resource. And I'm so grateful that you are on Al now, Brett. It's so nice to meet you.
It's great to be here. I'm glad I could be of any
ask
kind of
him your production questions, not me. I can dabble, but no. Also, Facebook groups. I mean, I know we use them for everything, but there was one that I was in LA. It was like Make Pop Music group, and like there's so many Facebook groups where people in like that live in like LA and Nashville who are like who are very professional, but are always looking for employment, like could be a mentor to your son and maybe do like Zoom classes, and they would teach him one-on-one for a fee as well if you're looking for like a teacher like that. And you can look at their profile and see the music that they put out and vet them first. So that's an option too.
And of course, I'm sorry, you can go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
There's also curriculum that's being offered all over in different universities. Like my concentration was in production, but when I was more performance based, like I was saying, but plenty of schools that are having very specific, curriculum towards production, the softwares, how you sample, how you generate ideas, and it kind of all bleeds together. But it sounds like, you said your son, right?
How old is he?
He just turned 15.
Oh, so he's not that young.
This is the pivotal age for me, and when you fall in love with it, and that's the sweetest feeling in the world. And I think it's fantastic. You want to support him. I mean, obviously, right? But let him follow that love all the way because it'll
I
really.
just want him to find his passion. That's all so that he's happy. That's all I'm
jealous of it because, when you start getting you get a little cynical.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm always like, I'm the bitter old musician. No,
but if you're in love with it, just stick with it. Right.
All right. It looks like our time is running out.
Yes.
Yeah. But call Brett later if you have more questions.
Nice talking to you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tanya.
Thanks for calling. Sorry to take I can't help but
it's okay.
pop
We're in this together.
Woo. Yeah. Yeah. See how fun this is? Just once you take your first 10 calls, then you can set your price. Fun fact, you can't do it right away. You have to take the calls at $1 for the first 10, but after that, you can make some real money as a consultant, a music consultant.
There's your profile. You just became an expert. So that's what you look like.
Wow.
You're on the homepage because we put musicians on purpose right up at the top so people could find you.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Right.
So Tanya's going to go ahead and leave you a review. So you're going to get your first review by Tanya today,
That's
which is pretty
fantastic.
cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Your first call, and you'll never forget, was on the Owwll podcast. And it's, of course,
what a debut.
It's out there. It's never getting removed off the internet. It's out up in the cloud somewhere.
Yeah, and I think I want to make sure that the world knows, or that the community knows, that it may seem like it's really targeted to just music, but it really spreads out. Like, I can relate to you in more of an entrepreneurial sense, as we were talking about, and like it's the same steps that we take no matter what it is that you're focusing on, especially another art form like acting or writing or any kind of, we're all really of the same kin, you know.
Which I love you bringing up, because so often someone will see someone like Jen right here. It says real estate. I'm like, well, I don't really need to talk to anyone about real estate. I'm like, what? It has nothing to do with real estate. You're going to talk to Jen, and you're going to talk about, maybe client relationship software, how she's communicating with clients. Like, real estate professionals that are at the top are excellent communicators.
Totally.
Right. They know what they're doing. There's a reason why one's making $4 million a year, one's making $10,000 a year. Right. It's the delivery. It's how they treat their customers and clients. And you'll never know, by calling Jen, like, what will come out of a conversation.
Exactly.
Right. You're calling just because she lists that under her expertise, but then it's whole different things. Like you were just talking about YouTube and Spotify and non-business, non-musician related items, of course, that relate more to entrepreneurship, which is for everyone out there at the end of the day.
Totally. It's we're on a much more broad spectrum than we realize, where we're all kind of, of the same denominator, where it's a people's game, all the stuff that doesn't bear repeating at this point, right?
Okay. Well, if you're listening out there, call in. We have a slot for one last person to call Brett. He's sitting there under musicians. So go ahead and give him a ring before you lose that opportunity.
Let's chit chat.
Because at some point he's going to raise his price. He's not going to be $1 in the future. He's going to jump it up to $20, then $50, then $100. Once he gets to like,
or if you guys have any
50 million
requests,
Spotify,
any song requests, you can switch it up. And I don't know if nobody calls, you might have to give us a little snippet.
Yeah, maybe I'm full of it.
Yeah.
We could also call somebody else. We can mess around. Right. We could call Jen. She's $1. Right. Ooh. This is what happens when you're doing Bluetooth issues with the phone. We'll switch it up. We'll call Jen. So for anyone listening, we're going to make your first outbound call.
Okay.
While we were bringing her up and talking about real estate, might as well. We'll see what comes from it.
I'm in the real estate game too.
Because that's the big thing. Is like so many people.
Oh, she knows a lot of musicians too.
Hi.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Jen. You're live on the Owwll podcast. How are you doing?
So exciting. I'm great. How are you guys?
We are doing great. We were just talking about entrepreneurship in general. And we were talking about just calling people that you normally would not speak to. Like if I saw real estate, under your profile, I was like, I don't really know if I want to talk to someone in the real estate world. But I'm like, but that's not what's going to happen after an Owwll call. You're going to call and things are going to, just open up and blossom. So you have Brett Miller.
I've been watching you.
Oh, perfect. So you kind of heard everything I just said. So
I heard everything.
So Brett, let's just swing it off. Let's ask Jen a question. Let's switch gears.
So the specialization is real estate.
I always have a hard time with this because I'm total entrepreneur where I have an invention, a patent that's going through. I have, a million different businesses, if you will.
Yeah.
But real estate is sort of my main hub in the sense that I really love to teach women how to build wealth.
Yeah.
And men, now that Brian,
me and Brett out. We want to build wealth. We want to build wealth.
Don't leave us high and dry.
It's the same strategy for men and women usually, right?
Yeah. Unless it's not. Is it not?
Oh, no. So,
save money. Don't spend it all.
But what was the first? Was that the first mission, if you will?
So I got into real estate in 2012 in Hawaii. And then I went to India in 2016. Fateful trip that got me into coaching when I got back. So I got out of real estate. And then after I bought my apartment complex, I merged the two and started coaching in real estate. And so actually, Brian, Jason, you were talking earlier about, a success story on Owwll.
Yeah.
Right. You're asking us to share.
Sure.
Well, Shirley Jones is a great example of somebody that
I met on Owwll. She bought my money course and she downloaded it. And I called her every day because I knew that she was going through this. And it's really, it's pretty intense. And so the next day I called her on the app and she was totally depressed, as I suspected would happen. So I was like, "You got this, girl. I've got you." And, fast forward 3 days later, she had shared that she was $225,000 in debt. Well, we kept talking on the app, and fast forward, is in escrow on her house for $240,000. So she's wiping out the debt as soon as she closes, and she's moving to Africa.
That's a big change. That's
And-
a big
Yeah.
jump.
I'm curious. So you kind of coached her to make this decision?
So I coached her. She took my money course that I have online,
Okay.
and then so I checked in on her every day on the app.
Yeah.
And then come Monday, like 4 days later, she calls me and is like, "I'm listing my house on Monday." And on Monday, she got 2 offers. And so she accepted one.
Wow.
She's probably like a week and a half in escrow, something like that. But this app has been amazing. It's like so many stories like that where you're just meeting these people, and it's like it's like access to people whose networks are like insane.
Yeah. And it's just the circles combine, where it starts to form into a bigger circle. I'm sure that she's elated of the situation as well. So she's probably spreading word.
And people are now meeting up. I think there was just an Owwll meetup in Canada, which we don't even have many Canadians
I
on
know,
here.
that was nuts. Out of all
And
places for a
This
meetup.
woman that I talked to today, she was like, "We just had an Owwll meetup, and it was like family, and we all got together and helped each other with our businesses." And I'm like, "Wait, what? I didn't even know about this. That's amazing."
Wow.
Yeah, so we need to do one here in the US.
California.
Start local and stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, we do
Cali.
have
Let's
meetups. Come on. Last night I advertised it. Come on by Delray Beach.
Yeah,
meetup,
the Ave. Let's.
I would have been there if I
come,
heard
come
about
to
it.
California, and Danielle, Proxima Prada.
I know. Yeah, she's friends with a big band. What's that song? I forget their song, but I know it. What are who are?
24 brand new hours.
Yeah.
Like
Brand new hours. I don't know if you know the song.
Brand new hours?
It's like 24. I forget.
Their viral one.
Yeah, I want to meet them. Anyway, she's friends with a lot of musicians too. Jen is.
Are you in Los Angeles?
I'm in SLO, but I lived in Hollywood for a minute.
San Luis Obispo, if you don't know what that is.
No, I don't.
It's one of the best places on earth. I love it so much.
And
it's actually rated like one of the happiest places on earth, I think. Did you know that?
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Let's have a reunion here.
I'm planning like January. I want to go.
They're holding out. Like, where is this place? Where is this happy spot?
It's like one of the happiest
Oprah
places.
called it the happiest little city in America.
But where is it? You guys are
It's on the Central Coast.
Gotcha.
Huh.
Yeah.
The Center Coast?
My friend's daughter went to
They're like,
college
they keep giving
there
us
and
clues.
just
Yeah.
took me there
I've
once.
never heard of that area. Is that like
Huntington Beach?
Is that
like
between San
No.
Francisco and Los
San
Angeles?
Francisco.
We say it's not the Bay and it's not LA, but it's right in between.
It's in between.
Well, when you said you lived there, I was like, all right, we have to be friends because that's like
Yes.
I don't like LA, but like SLO, I was like, oh, the energy here is amazing. So
I've heard
I'm
Sacramento.
going to help you buy a
is one.
house here, Danielle.
What?
I'm going to help you buy a house.
Yeah. Oh my God. I need to take your money course, actually.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking that. I was like, ooh, let me do that course.
Danielle's got West Coast vibes,
I don't know about
not East Coast
Don't
vibes.
steal Danielle from us.
No.
She's doing great here at Owwll HQ.
No, I'll
I'm
just
East Coast
be
vibes.
I'll be back. I mean, I'm from Philly, but I'll be back and forth,
right.
I'll be like the world. I'll be
I'll
the
be
Owwll
bi-coastal.
traveler. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be by coastal.
And then Nashville a quarter of the year.
That's right.
And then
The dream is seasonal.
LA. Yeah, same. Me too. Yeah.
I'm
Anyway.
going to hold you to that. Actually, Danielle, I'm going to get on a call with you and we're going to like hash this out.
Yeah.
And give it like a little minute. Yeah.
Perfect. January is my,
Jen, you have
is
now
my
been
California
kicked. You have
goal,
now been kicked
so.
off the app, so that way she cannot speak to you. The last person who spoke to moved to Africa. So I'm concerned here. I don't know. You're 1 for 1 with moves, so
No, it's okay.
I have to
It's
be
okay.
cautious here.
No,
Jen.
Florida, I do love it here, though. It's like
It's for women wealth, remember?
it has my heart for sure, but I can be in more than one place at once. It's fine. Make it
Totally.
work. Well, guys, make sure you call Jen on the Owwll app if you want to up your money game. Did you end up asking her? I don't know if you had like a
No, I
question.
wanted to get her, background before, what inspired all of this. But
I don't know. This is kind of putting you on the spot, but like, do you have a suggestion of how Brett and I can make more money? I know it's like
go
totally
for it. Yeah.
putting you on the spot,
Yeah.
but like as musicians, like do you have
That's a good question.
a tip for musicians of how to make more money? Like I know it's super broad, but
Yeah, for sure. So what I'll do for you guys is my website is jennaragon.com, Jen with one N, and I'm going to give you guys a code for my workbook. You're going to download the workbook.
ooh, I
Yeah,
love that.
the code is money, but wait, because I have to go in and update it.
Is this
But-
for everybody listening? They can all download your workbook or just us?
So they can all download it. It's only
Okay.
$25, but I'm going to give you guys a special code.
Cool.
Or I don't know.
Thanks. Yeah.
Maybe I'll give two codes. I'll give one is money. That's for you guys. And then I'll give the users the code Owwll for a discount.
Ooh, guys. So everyone listening, make sure you go now. Who doesn't want more money? Like, let's be real. I've never heard anyone be like, oh, I'm good on the money,
Yeah.
Right?
So make sure you go to Jen's website. Is it just your name, jennaragon.com? I forget.
Yep.
Say it again. Okay.
Then
Narragon.
it's Eat, Pray, Fuck, Being Broke.
Oh,
Y'all are making this too easy. You have
Eat,
to
pray,
call Jen
fuck,
to get the
being-
code on Owwll. Come on.
yeah, actually,
them,
that's a better
you know,
point.
People,
Well, we want to
people
reward
who
our
make the
listeners too.
effort, right, should be the ones warning. But those are the ones. Who
How
take it
about you have to
seriously.
comment on this video? You have to comment on the LinkedIn video, and then like you have to
Free.
comment. I don't know, Jen, or tag Jen in this post on LinkedIn to get your code. Does that
But
work?
in all seriousness, people don't take things as seriously when they're free, right? So when the people
So
who
true.
call her spend $1 to even speak to her, right? Because she changed her rate to $1, $20, $30 at times. But when you speak to her and then she gives the code, then they're going to take it a lot more serious.
Yeah.
There you go.
All these free guides are out there. There's a gazillion free
100%.
guides. You go to Fidelity, Charles Schwab. They're endless. There's
Yeah.
YouTube videos. There's so much stuff on money. There's so many books out. But when someone holds your hand, like Jen was doing with her customer that she talked about earlier,
Yeah.
it's like that's what makes the impact.
Totally.
But I also think you have to give nowadays a little taste of something for free so that people can just see what you're about and then do the hard sell, in my opinion.
Which is Owwll,
Yeah.
right? A
Mhm.
lot of
It
intros,
is.
a lot of calls,
10-minute consultations, and then you
application's
can take it off the app and do your thing. So,
Thank you,
all
Jen.
right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Okay. So for everyone listening, you can see the difference on the review screen. This one's a little longer because we called and paid her to chat, of course. So Brad, what was your thoughts of the platform right there? Pretty cool.
Very cool. I wanted. I don't know. Is there a chat
No,
capability?
do you want to answer this question? You're the
For
developer
sure.
man.
I am the developer, man.
Okay.
Yes. There is no messaging because everyone's already got like 25 million inboxes, right?
So true.
Your profile has the ability to list what you want on it. So here we have an example. This individual put their website, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Clubhouse. You
Mhm.
might have Instagram and TikTok. So people could message you where you hang out, right?
Mhm.
So that way, instead of us having an internal message box where it's another one where people are trying to communicate with you and try to get something for free, right? Try to get free time on your schedule, free meeting, where the whole point of Owwll is,
Yeah.
they have to call you. It's genuine one-on-one conversation. Now
Instant.
we
It's not
might add
scheduling.
paid text
No,
messages,
yeah.
but it will be paid, right? So if someone does have a question that they want to, get answered, we will one day open that door up probably to
Yeah.
messaging. But what is coming, a big announcement, is in approximately 6 to 8 weeks, you'll see a chat forum. So we were talking about Facebook groups earlier where people post something and
Like, do you have a good barber? And then they'll be like, oh, Jimmy's the best.
correct.
A real
Right?
forum.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, just like the first guest called in and said, hey, I'm looking for my son to, do this or that, right? Then she could post that and then people will tag yourself, will
Totally.
tag Danielle, and then you'll get a notification. But now you're not stuck in the DMs in Facebook where people are connecting you as a friend. You're like, I'm not your friend. Like that's where my friends are in Facebook, and they're looking at your personal profile pics, and it gets a little awkward. We're like, what do I do with this now? Right? Someone pinged me and said we should speak, but you don't want to do it for free all the time.
Of course.
Right? But with Owwll, then it's just set up properly. The boundaries are set up, 10-minute, 20-minute calls. And you didn't see much of the extension, but we could have extended the calls where people could have spent 20, 30 minutes if we allowed it.
Yeah.
But that's really the cool part about Owwll is
and the
boundaries.
Yeah, and I like that too, because a lot of times you don't have all the time in the world to just chat away. So, and people, it's understood, like it's an unspoken language, like, okay, well, like time's about to end, and they understand you're paying for this time, so they want to give you the answer in the most efficient manner possible, and they want you to leave them a good review and call them again. So yeah.
I'd say I'm more curious to connect with people, in our age group that, because like I said, if it is entrepreneurial, if it is more broad, and it doesn't really matter what art form or product or services you're offering, then it's really all about, because like for me personally, the ventures have extended over time. Like I'm not in my 20s, I'm just entering my 30s. So all of a sudden I'm playing with a little bit more money, and I can move things around and get into things like real estate, like I poked at, and like I do like investments and I'm always looking for better ways, even outside of music, to continue building capital and keep the dream alive, by proxy. But it really extends all the way out. And I think all of us can relate to that, where it's like, maybe I started everything with gig money and money that I saved up, but then you start throwing it
That's
into
why I work at Owwll now.
Yeah.
I was doing music full time before this, and I was like, you know what? This is just like not cutting the mustard. Like I need something else that is just too much. I was booking everything myself, no agencies, and I'm
Totally.
like, you know what?
It's
this
a
is
mix
taking
of
the
both.
love out of the music.
I know you can get cynical with it too.
Yeah.
So wearing all those different hats, where I do work with agents that make it somewhat easier at the day of the gig, but then also booking independently, where you make more money because there's no middleman.
Yeah.
But also leveraging what you've done on social media, and you leverage, your network of people locally and abroad. Like that's why I keep going to Nashville, is because it's been, every time I go there, the network builds a little bit more. And
definitely.
that's the dream of the seasonal activity, where you just kind of bounce around, depending on what time of year it is, really.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to close this episode out with some tips for everybody here, because we're just talking about money. And of course, I am a financial advisor behind the scenes and running multiple businesses at once. So I do want to, really touch on this subject, because it kind of relates back to the original question when I stepped in about entrepreneurship. And it's really just about being laser focused and executing and being on top of those deals that you have coming in. Too often people are opening up too many deals, and they're not just, sticking with one at a time, and making sure that, you're if you're giving value, it's like price it correctly, right? So if you're charging a gig $500, right, and the next person over, is the same talent, but they're charging 1,000, but they're getting it, right? It's just like, it's that closing skill, saying, well, this is my price, and you're not budging from it. And you're just like, you have a good offer. It's a 1-page sheet. Like no one wants to read 20 pages anymore. PowerPoints is like, this is my price to come in and do an act. But then it's the little touches, going back to that again. It's like, you were on time. Right. And
it literally happened today.
And everything.
And I was like, are you reading my mind right now?
You are accountable, right? Because when you have people like myself who hire a plumber, as an example, like I will use the most expensive plumber, all the time, because they always show up and they always do good service. And I want to deal with like trying to find a cheaper plumber at that point. So like, why does Erica's Plumbing, that's an example in town, like they do so phenomenal, right? It's, part excellent marketing, but
reputation,
also just the reputation, the services, like all the Google reviews, everything matches up. Right. So when you're looking at your industry, whatever industry anyone listening is in, it's just like being consistent and just executing. Too often people are always like thinking it's about the likes and the followers, but it's not. I know so many people, our guests on the Shrimp Tank today had like 200 followers on their Instagram account, like 1,000, on their LinkedIn account. And ready for this, it's going to blow you guys your mind. 150 employees.
Yeah.
Right. And one was 30 and one was 40.
I made the most
they work
money
with dentists. That's it. They're just like, they realized that the niche was dentists. So too often people, don't realize
following
like,
their dentists.
The niches are out there, and go after, those niches where people can write checks. Right. So if it is dentists, if it's doctors, or if it's business owners like me who run events all the time, and those business owners could write $5,000 checks versus $500 checks, that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And that's where, you'll see a big difference of like how people are able to elevate their business, over the course of time. It takes time to learn those lessons, and eventually you get there, over time. Maybe you didn't get there when you're 25, but it takes consistent effort and staying focused on that end goal.
Mm-hmm. I'd say the power in a profession like that, like you said, it was a dentist, right? Who cares about your following at that point? It's like, that's not going to show you credibility for how good you are of a dentist. But if you are able to, leverage social media advertising where you can showcase, the reviews of in person, like this is the best, he fixed whatever, you're showing it doesn't matter about your following. It matters about finding your people, and it's like your clientele that's local, that, maybe you're going for a demographic that's specific, maybe more older crowd. Well, you can target people like that and make content that they see just casually scrolling through their feeds that, oh my gosh, I need a new checkup. You can offer that free cleaning, and then incite people to come through. And that's the game you want to play with social media. That's the power, not the vanity metrics, right?
And I feel like time is money. Like thinking back, like when I was living in LA and like waitressing, I would spend so much time making videos for social media. And then once I moved here, I was gigging so much that I didn't have time. So then I was like, wait, I'm just going to take videos while I'm performing live and making money at the same time. Like cut out the whole spending time making the videos. Well, I can do it while I'm working.
Stay productive.
Right. So it's like finding those little ways to like just save your time and be efficient, and make money. Like just looking at what you're doing and seeing like, how can I maximize
Right.
is helpful.
Music obviously is a little bit different. It's not like dentistry.
Yeah.
Where we kind of do need to have, unfortunately, there's a lot of vanity metrics that come into play, but you still have to showcase that you do what you do well, and that you have some kind of unique style, and like that is for any art form with social media. So it's a mix of that. But at the same time, I'm trying to find, and you're trying to find your target audience that's going to like your music, that relate to it, because they know that you're the same age or you're going through the same stuff, where, demographics, gender, you can narrow things down. It's very powerful. So that aspect of social media is very powerful, very sophisticated, I'd say.
Well, Brett, thank you for joining us on the Owwll podcast today. And of course, there's Brett's profile. Take him up on the opportunity to chat with him and try to have him at your next event, of course. Awesome musician. Listen to some of his music.
Yeah, check him out. Where can we find you online?
So everything's under Brett Miller when it comes to Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and then social media is Brett Miller Live.
Surprised there's not another Brett Miller?
There are, but I won the rights.
Oh, good. Okay.
I staked my claim. Like I'm taking the name to the highest point.
Take care, everybody.
Post-production for the Owwll podcast is done with care by Ocean Tree Creative.